But New York now is trying to say, well, you don't need more than 7 bullets in your gun. Why would you ever need 7 bullets?
You know where it's at?
You know, you're just a great shot, you know, and you never miss. And more than one person would never attack you. And the U.S. government actually says standard carry is 20 to 30 rounds. That is standard carry, as defined by U.S. government regulatory agencies that talk about this stuff. But the state of New York says, no, you don't need more than 7 rounds. But the Supreme Court says that you cannot ban guns in common use. And so Dick Heller's gun was ruled a common use gun, even though it was very old. 9-shot revolver. The most commonly used rifle in America today, many of you are carrying it right now, is the AR-15. That is the most commonly used type of rifle in the United States. So, based on that theory that the Supreme Court has already said is what rules if you can ban something or not, the assault weapons ban is dead on arrival. Now, why are they pushing it? They're pushing it for political purposes. They're pushing it because the media loves to hear it. They're pushing it because it sells. They're pushing it because people like Piers Morgan need ratings.
Deported! Send him home! Toilet raising! Send him back to England!
Over 2,100 people a day use firearms for self-defense in the United States. It's not always reported because it's usually not a shooting. Most of the time, the people just see you with a gun and they run away. It's true. So when they get these statistics, they don't recognize that. They don't want to acknowledge that. They try to pump up the numbers with defensive shootings or police shootings or accidental discharges or even suicides. Well, Japan has more suicides per capita than we do. The most suicides of any industrialized nation. And they can't even get downwind of a gun. In Europe, which Piers Morgan always loves to talk about his home country, the UK, and how nice it is there. Higher violent crime rate than the U.S., no matter what way you calculate it. Higher crime rate than the U.S. And higher crime rate, highest violent crime rate in the entire continent of Europe. And Switzerland, you look at countries like Switzerland, much lower crime rate, and not the lowest usually, much lower murder rate. You look at the city of Chicago, or excuse me, go back to Switzerland. The reason that's important is guns are mandated to be owned by the government in Switzerland. So you go to the city of Chicago, gun control capital of the United States. Of course, we always hear that. It is also the murder capital of the United States. And Barack Obama just loves those laws there. He wants to try to incorporate that to the entire U.S. Only the Supreme Court has said, no, you can't do that. So we have this debate going on now in the media, really. That's the only place the debate's really happening. And they're mostly debating against a brick wall. Media Research Center did some statistics that found the major news networks 8 to 1 are pro-gun control. Every story, almost every story in the media, the major media networks are pro-gun control. So they're trying to rile people up. They're trying to get you guys riled up. And I got news for them. You got us riled up.
Come and take it.
And we've been riled up for a while now because there's a vocal minority in this country that does not respect other people's rights.
Majority rules.
And we are not going to let that happen. We're not going to let people take away our rights because of political popularity or political expediency or just so they can do something. Your right to defend yourself is not negotiable. And all these politicians and the media needs to recognize that. So don't stop, don't quit, and I'll see you all, I'm pretty sure, once again. Have a good day. Bye.
Well, I don't know the secret. My name is Beth Cox, and I'd like to talk about something that's kind of related. Some of you may or may not agree. How many of you are veterans? My husband is a veteran. He's not particularly happy about it. Sorry. He's not particularly happy about, I think it was Janet Napolitano, declaring veterans, the best of us, a threat. Now, I come from a different state, and there is a problem in this country with the fact that our mental health patients are not being cared for. And this is scary. One of my daughters happens to work for a caregiving facility, and the really serious patients are not being treated as they should be, and even in her situation as a caregiver, she is not safe. Now, a couple of years ago, you may remember the officers that were murdered at the Forza coffee shop. The judge that let that man out did the best that he could. He set the maximum amount of bail because that was the only thing he could do. There are several states in this nation that have a mental health intervention law. I don't know all of the states, but I know that Florida is one of them because that's where I happen to be from. In Florida, they have something called a Baker Act. The Baker Act says if someone is threatening themselves, threatening others, or is obviously incoherent, incompetent, very unsafe, and not in reality, either family members or law enforcement or a boss, someone can say this person needs to be Baker Acted, and they will have a mandatory 72-hour mental health evaluation. If they are deemed a threat to self or others or incompetent, other laws take over as to what to do with them. Now, this is not a perfect law. There, Virginia, the man that committed the murders at Virginia Tech, he had a 72-hour evaluation, but Virginia didn't have a follow-up law. He had to be let go. He killed 32 people and himself. The other problem is that somebody will say, well, I have a vindictive ex. Well, maybe we need to have some caveats in a law like this where you have to have a certain number of people say, agree, yes, this person has a problem, let's help them. But the point is, if Washington had some kind of tool where family or whatever, or the judge had been able to point to this man, this maniac that killed those officers, he had been spouting off at the mouth for days about how he wanted to kill law enforcement officers. If Washington had a mental health intervention law, that judge could have said, no, you're going for an evaluation, and it's entirely possible that those 4 officers would still be alive. So I just would like y'all to think about this and possibly contact your representatives, because Washington, I think, would certainly benefit from a well-written law like this, rather than Obama's plan where your doctors ask a lot of intrusive and illegal questions. This puts the decision-making process back into the hands of the family. Another case in point, and then I'll go. There was a situation in Seattle a couple of years ago. There was no gun involved. This man went off of his medication. The family knew it. They had no power to do anything about it. He broke into the house of two women in the middle of the night, stabbed them. They managed to escape out of a window. One of them died before help arrived. Again, it's a mental health problem. So, thank you for listening, and I'd like to relinquish the mic.
My name is Sally Sue Sheldon. I'm from Aberdeen, Washington, Grace Harbor County. I'm a Gold Star mother. My son Timothy Davis was a combat controller in the Air Force, and he was killed by an IED in February of 2009. My father was a POW in World War II. He was captured by Field Marshal Rommel in North Africa, his whole unit. He was a POW for over 2 years. And the only reason I'm standing here today is because my dad escaped. And my dad raised me and our seven kids that he had to love God and our country. And in World War II, the thing that Adolf Hitler did is he confiscated the arms of the people of Germany before he took over. And I'm here to speak for my dad, and I'm here to speak for my son, who loved the Constitution of the United States. And I want you to say the Declaration of Independence with me. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by who? Our Creator, Mr. President, our Creator, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I know we may be here for different reasons, but I know that we're here because we believe in the Second Amendment, and that is not negotiable. We will not surrender our arms. Like the former speaker said, guns are not just for hunting or duck shooting or whatever. They are to protect us when a government tries to become a monarchy, when an executive acts like he's a king, and he gives thousands of executive orders, and he bypasses Congress. And Congress is made up of 2 houses, the Senate, 100 Republicans, and our representatives in the House, I think there's 435 or 25. That is a monarchy. That is a king. This country was founded as a republic. We the people are the government, and they're our representatives, not the other way around. And we have 3 branches of equal government. And the executive branch is not to rule over the judicial or the legislative branch.
Right. Yeah.
We did not want a king, a queen, czars, rulers, or dictators in America. We're a republic. Yeah. And we are not an overseas contingency. We are in war with radical Muslim extremists who want us dead. After my son died, my young daughter was a nurse up here in one of the ERs. I don't want to give the hospital. And she signed up and became a flight nurse. And she went, she volunteered to go to Afghanistan as a flight nurse. And this summer, she called me on June 30th from Afghanistan. And she said, "Mom, there was an attack of green on blue, and I didn't know what that meant, so I'm going to tell you in case you don't know what green on blue is. Blue are our American soldiers. Green are the Afghan soldiers that we are training. She said the green soldiers, the Afghans that we train, got a hold of machine guns, and they went into the barracks at night and shot up our soldiers. And she told me that she had 23 wounded American soldiers shot by the very Afghanistans that we trained, calling out for medicine and pain reliever. And she was the only nurse on the plane. There's usually 5. And I told her, Noelle, be strong. God's using you. You be strong. And all through the summer, there were attacks on the very people that we're training in Afghanistan, green on blue, which I don't understand why Benghazi was left helpless.
That's right. Where was the president?
There was an attack in, I believe, April, and there was one in June. And it left such a big hole that 40 men could have gone into that embassy. Now, what is wrong with this picture? There were over 400 memos sent to Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State. She didn't read them. And my dad, I want to go back to Gitmo, someone yelled. When my dad was captured in World War II, they took him to Capua, Italy, or however you say that. They marched him down the streets and people spit on him. And they threw stones at him and they emptied latrines from windows above. And they took him to a camp called Stalag 2B in Fürstenberg, Germany. Forgive my pronunciation, I don't know how to say that. I don't sprechen Sie Deutsch. But my dad could speak German. And in this prisoner of war camp, it was called the Camp of Blood, because when it rained, the grass was filled with blood from Prussian soldiers that the Germans had killed. They killed so many. And the commandant they called the Screamer, because he made all of them stand there for hours at attention. Hours. It's hard to stand at attention for 1 hour for those of you who are veterans. And I didn't learn any of this until after my dad died. I wanted his prisoner of war story, but he never talked about it, because they don't talk about their stories, the veterans. I just knew he loved God and he loved his country, and he put that in me. And he told in this story that he had dysentery the whole time, and he told about being boarded up in the trains, like you've seen movies like Schindler's List. The trains in Germany were half the size of our boxcars, and there was just a little mesh screen where they could get air. And people were falling down, so my dad and several others, they hooked their belts to the side of the car so they wouldn't be trampled, and they boarded them up, just like they did the Jewish people. And then, because my dad couldn't understand German, they had stopped at this train station as they were going to Germany from Italy. And he heard that the Red Cross was begging them to unload the car so that they could kind of give them some food. And they didn't want to, but they did. They unboarded the trains. And they put a little 5-gallon bucket in the train for them to go to the bathroom in, and they didn't open it up for 3 days. Of course, that's why everybody was getting dysentery and getting sick. And then when they opened it up, they had to use their helmets to go to the bathroom in. And they had to use those same helmets to bring water back to those who were sick in the cars. And my dad said in his letter that they had to operate with a jackknife, wire, and a hot pail of water as the soldiers held down the ones that were wounded, and they had to be out. That's how they operated on them. And in sunny Gitmo, they go to the doctor every 4 months. They have TV. They have soccer fields so they can exercise. It's a country club compared to what our forefathers went through in World War II.
That's right.
They watch TV. Can you believe that? The soccer game. What's wrong with this picture? This is war. It's not overseas contingency. It's war.
Yes, it is.
And I don't understand this Commander-in-Chief. I don't. I always vote for a president who has served in the armed forces, and we only had two to choose from this time. Governor Rick Perry of Texas and Ron Paul.
Yeah.
So those are my choices. That's who I supported. Because I believe a president should understand what the military's all about. Our soldiers are sitting ducks over there and they're being picked off, and that's why we've had some people go crazy. Like that one here at, what was it, Fort Lewis? He's watching his friends die. Some of them on their fourth and fifth thing over there. And does this president care? I don't know.
That's what he wants.
That's what he wants. Yeah. And lastly, because I want others of you to come up here and speak your heart. Lastly, I am a Christian, and the Bible says no one can serve two masters. You cannot serve Allah, and you cannot serve Jehovah God, because you will love one and hate the other. And a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, and I feel like that is who we have in the White House. Thank you. Who wants to speak their heart? Please come up.
I just wanted to add one quick thing. Most of you probably know this, but the reason we were not invaded by the Japanese in World War II is because they believed that we had our firearms. We're a sovereign nation because of it.
You have to excuse me for my voice. I just got over this flu, or sort of. My name is Anton D. Railing. I am a veteran. But there's one thing I wanted to add. You cannot legislate safety. What you have to do is discourage the people that will use force against you, and that's through defensive weapons. I cannot believe that our government is even considering infringing on our Second Amendment right. It's unconscionable. We have a Congress that's supposed to defend our rights, not infringe on them. And I am so mad as hell. I never believed in my life that I'd be standing on a Capitol campus of the state capitol, armed and speaking like this, because we're on the verge of a tyrannical despot trying to take our rights from us and turn us into some sort of socialist utopia, which is bullshit. Excuse my French. I'm mad as hell, and I really can't take it much anymore, and I'm not a radical. You know, the only person that's in a danger from my weapons are a bad person or a tyrannical person. And you know what? Nobody is a danger other than those people. But yet I stand up here right now and I think, holy smokes, I'm 59 years old. Will I make it to 60 because my government won't allow it by assaulting us? And just by speaking these things, freedom, liberty, rights, I'm on a watch list by our by our government. And it just really, I'd like to sit up here and talk a lot, but I'm losing my voice and it's starting to hurt. And I know there's other people who can speak a lot better than me, but let me tell you what, I'm almost at the end of my flipping rope. And just to let these people here in Olympia know, leave my rights to hell alone. You are our representatives. You are not lawmakers. We already have basic law. Thank you.
There was a guy that called for everybody to get together, to unite. I want to add something to that. Everybody that's here, before you go home, go back into these buildings. Go back into your buildings. These are our buildings. They're not buildings. Talk to your representatives, both of them.
Nice.
I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. Talk to your senators. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. I've been coming down here for 20 years. Not about guns, but about motorcycles.
There we go.
It's a war with these people. But you got to talk to them. My senator knows me on site by name. I have a representative that knows me on site by name. The other one's new. I'm working on her. Thanks.
In order for us all to get an opportunity to go up and meet our representatives and have a theme, I have a free bucket of rocks over there at the Tacoma Narrows Tea Party table. They're a bucket of assault rocks. And so if you take an envelope, I brought envelopes so that you can write assault rock on the envelope and put your rock in there and make 3. You have 2 reps and a state senator. Because this rally will have no value unless you go, like the gentleman just said, to that building and you drop off your gift to your representatives so that they get the message. And if we all do that, they will all be walking around with their free assault rock. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mimi Silver, and I would just like to invite all of you and your families the first Saturday of every month at Freedom Bridge, Joint Base Lewis McChord, from 10 a.m. to noon. We have signs thanking our troops. We wave, we say thank you, we salute them. We get a lot of appreciation from our young warriors. The first Saturday of every month from 10 to noon. And it is a great place to meet patriots. It's a great place to organize. So please join us the first Saturday of every month, 10 to noon. Exit 122, Freedom Bridge. Thank you.
Well, my name is Stephen Pigeon. I was at one point a candidate for the Attorney General. I'm not running for office now, so I get to freely speak. And I've come to speak a little bit about some of the facts concerning the Second Amendment in this country and the condition we're currently in. We begin with a couple of facts that are a little bit difficult for Americans to swallow. And those are what's called the Arab Spring. Now, the Arab Spring was brought to you by the State Department. The State Department, it actually began in April of 2009 when Barack Obama visited Cairo and gave a speech extolling the virtues of the Quran. He greeted them in Arabic. He invited the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood to that meeting. And at the end of that meeting, he told them in Arabic, "I am one of you." Now that's an interesting statement because the Muslim Brotherhood is an organization formed in 1928 whose goal is to reinstate the Ottoman Empire and to essentially assert Islamic jihad all over the world. Michelle Bachmann wrote a letter last year signed by 5 other senators demanding information from the National Intelligence Director as to why there were members of the Muslim Brotherhood in the White House.
That's right.
The Egyptian press 2 months ago released 6 names of high Muslim Brotherhood members that are working for the Obama administration, including Ali Khan, who is about to take the #1 spot in Homeland Security, or the #2 spot in Homeland Security. So the question is, when Obama said, "I am one of you," what did he mean? I am a Muslim? I am an Arab? Or I am Muslim Brotherhood? It's a question. But now let's see what the fruit of that poisonous tree is. After we agitated the events in Tunisia and caused the disruption and anarchy to break out in Tunisia, it spilled over into the nation of Libya. Libya had not been at war with the United States or had engaged in any terrorism against the United States since the Lockerbie bombing in the 80s. And in fact, they were trying to become a willing partner in the Partnership of Nations, had renounced their WMDs, and were opening social programs throughout Libya. This was insufficient for Obama, who began funding Al-Qaeda directly with American tax dollars. Now, Al-Qaeda, as you know, is on the American terrorist watch list, as is the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, the LIFG, who was run by Belhaj, who was also funded by the United States, as was Sharia, who's run by Al-Qumu, who was also funded by the United States, as was Islamia Jihad, the organization that was responsible, quote unquote, for security in Benghazi, that was also funded by the United States. Now, how much funding went into this operation? 20,000 tons of arms were delivered to Al-Qaeda with American tax dollars. Now, my friends, that is an act of overt treason.
Yes, it is! Yes, it is!
You are aiding and abetting known enemies of the United States at times of war.
That's right. That's right.
What was the result of funding Sharia, Islamic Jihad, Islamia Jihad, the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, and Sharia? The end result was they assassinated and attacked the equivalent of a 4-star general, Ambassador Chris Stevens. And during that attack lasted for 7 hours. There was a drone overhead immediately. The White House Situation Room watched the attack happen, and 3 separate times Obama ordered Americans to stand down and not defend the ambassador. He ordered the CIA to stand down, he ordered General Ham to stand the Army down, and he ordered Admiral Gouet to stand the Navy down. There was a C-130 less than an hour away. He refused to deploy it. So who is responsible for the death of Ambassador Stevens, and why did he die?
Obama! Hillary, all of us!
Guess what? Guess where those weapons are. And what kind of weapons are we talking about? How about 20,000 shoulder-held missiles capable of taking down commercial jet airliners? Those will be operative for the next 20 years in the hands of Al-Qaeda. They've made their way into the Gaza Strip in the hands of Hamas. They've made their way into Syria. In fact, on the American tax dollar, we imported Al-Qumu and 60 members of Al-Qaeda into Syria to do agitation on our behalf in Syria, which, by the way, is an international war crime. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because you didn't see Mr. Obama asking for a background check on Al-Qaeda, did you?
No!
There was no background check. There was no psychiatric check. He just sent 20,000 tons of highly volatile weapons to known enemies of the United States, and then he comes back to us and says, you disarm.
Yeah. That's right! We will not!
Here's what I say to Mr. Obama. You disarm.
That's right!
We're not going to disarm.
That's
You
right.
disarm.
You disarm! There you go! That's right!
Now, the Second Amendment is not just a fundamental right enshrined in American liberty. It is essential Americanism. If you weren't born in America, like Mr. Obama, you don't understand things essentially American.
That's right!
One wonders if he ever played baseball or ate apple pie.
No, he didn't!
He should ski.
It is a fact that he does not understand the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, what is so critical about the Second Amendment is this. We are the last bastion
Yes!
of sovereignty of the people on earth.
Yes!
There is no other place you're going to go. Come on, name to me the country where you can go, where you have sovereignty of the people, whose constitution begins with we the people, whose government is expressly designed to govern at the consent of the people, on behalf of the people, government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
That's right! Yeah!
Lincoln said that government shall not perish from the United States, shall not perish from this earth, but it will only not perish when we stand vigilant before it.
That's right!
Now, an attack on the Second Amendment is in itself an act of treason.
Yes!
It's an act of treason for a legislature to say, we're thinking about taking away your Second Amendment rights. That's treason. How dare you come to American people and say, I'm going to walk right on your most fundamental right that protects you from the rise of tyranny. How dare you?
How dare you!
It doesn't happen. And so the reality is this. We're now at a point, and I think the tide has turned, frankly. This tyrant wannabe who signed 9,000 executive orders, a federal court finally said, hey, guess what? Your appointments are illegal.
That's right!
You know, the federal court, John Roberts, should have told Obama that his health care was illegal.
That's right!
But in a conspicuous act of cowardice, he backed down.
Yes, he did.
Now he needs to step down.
Yeah.
Leave the bench, John Roberts, and leave it in shame knowing that you walked away from your country.
That's right.
And so I can tell you that where the Second Amendment is concerned and where the right to bear arms is concerned, let's have a good discussion, shall we? The AR-15 to 223, it's a great piece.
That's right.
Very accurate, 2,300 feet per second, no recoil. People say, why do you need a 30-round clip? Okay, let's take a look at this. If you have one guy come into your house, and he breaks in, and you want to shoot back, okay, maybe you can do it with 4 or 5 rounds, if you're a good shot. What if you miss? You might need more. What if it's more than one? And that's an issue. You know, when you talk about taking away firearms, who are the first people that get hurt? Well, number one is a young woman who's being stalked by a guy who has no respect for the law. You know, you got a young woman who's 5'2", 90 pounds soaking wet, and she's got a boyfriend who's 6'1", 225, and he doesn't like the fact that she's breaking up with him. You know what? There's an instant equalization with a snub-nosed 38 in the purse. That right needs to be protected.
Yes, it does.
The right to be on the street when somebody is advancing against you inordinately. Yeah, you want to have a peace, you want to know how to use it. But more importantly, and most important, there is a push inside this federal government that has enacted the National Defense Authorization Act that allows for the unlimited detention of American citizens without arrest, without probable cause, without a right to a lawyer, and without a writ of habeas corpus. You can be removed to a military base and shipped overseas and nobody hears another word about you. And no right to a hearing, nothing. And our members of Congress from this state voted for that bill. Recently, Mr. Obama, in a spirit of being a public servant on behalf of all Americans, has deployed 2,000 drones against the United States of America. That, my friend, is an act of war. Mr. Obama has violated posse comitatus in 7 cities and has deployed Black Hawk helicopters over Houston, over Miami, over St. Louis, over Denver, over Chicago. Recently, the Black Hawk helicopters that were deployed in Miami used live ammunition. That is an act of war, and it's a violation of posse comitatus, and it's an act of treason, and it's an international war crime. We can call it, you know, I remember, you know, back during the George Bush days, this whole country was willing to impeach Bush for waterboarding. Right? Abu Ghraib was an offense so huge that militant, warmongering George Bush needed to be impeached. The very same people that marched on D.C. screaming, where are you now?
Yeah, right. Where are you?
Where are you now? Our president is at war in more nations right now than Adolf Hitler was in 1939.
That's right. That's right.
Did he get approval from Congress to violate the War Powers Act in Libya? No. Tunisia? No. Egypt? No. Somalia? No. Sudan? No. Yemen? No. Bahrain? No. Syria? No. Jordan? No.
Turkey? Papa.
This is our condition. So what I say to you is this. The Second Amendment is inviolate. Congress shall make no law offending it, and we have a duty to stand by it. It is an essential freedom, and let us not lose it.
That's right.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I want y'all to smile for me. Really big smile. Come on. Come on, a big smile. I'm up here in front of 1,000 people with guns. I want a big smile on your face. All right, thank you. One more thing I want you to do, and I want you to take a little bitty step right. Good, man. You guys already got another little step right. Just a little step right. That's what we're here for today, ladies and gentlemen, to take back our rights. I'm Bruce Brown, the Lewis County Tea Party. Hello. A couple things I want to talk about today that are kind of serious. I'm following really some great speakers, and sometimes that can be a problem and a little intimidating. So, what I'd like to say today, see the sun's coming out. Praise the Lord. What I want to talk about today is what's been going on and how long it's been going on. How many watched the Super Bowl game last week? Show of hands, quite a few of you. You probably wondered in the first half where the defense team was. Is that right? The defense team was out of the league, or they didn't show up. Well, after the lights went out, things changed. And an offensive team did show up. And the result was real close. What I want to talk about this morning, maybe this is still morning, is that we have been on the field of play in this country for 100 years without a defensive team on the field. 100 years ago, in the middle of the night, almost the middle of the night, on Christmas Eve, our legislature passed the Federal Reserve Act in the middle of the night, in the darkness, and it was a very evil thing to do while most of our representatives and senators were home on Christmas vacation. There were only enough there to get the bill passed. And what happened? There was no right defensive team on the field. 1930s, it happened again. By an executive order, the gold that every man carried in his pocket was confiscated by our government by an executive order, and there was no defense on the field. In 1964, the remaining silver that we were left with was removed from our pocket, and there was no defensive team on the field. We have right now before us an opportunity for the government to come and take our arms, and we need a defensive team on the field.
That's right, we're here.
Now, that being said, understand how many games are won with a defensive team only. It can be done. Yes, it can be done. The defensive team could pick up on a field goal after they had the ball from a fumble, from a mistake. It could happen. But it's very, very seldom that a defensive team wins. Now, are we on the defense? Or are we going to be on the offense for our first time in 100 years? We have to be on the offense.
Yes.
We have to quit hiding.
Yes.
We have to quit sitting.
Yeah.
We have to turn the TV off. We have to stand up for what is ours, given to us by God.
Yes.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
The Tea Party itself in Lewis County went on 3 prongs. I call it the milk and stool approach. A milking stool has 3 legs, and there's a reason it has 3 legs. It's because when you sit on uneven ground, you get solid seating, no matter what the ground is with 3 legs. That's a trinity throughout the universe. 3 is good. 3 is good. First thing, Plan A. Plan A is to change things politically. That's back here where the restrooms are. Some of us need to go in some place that's to go there. Okay. Plan A is to change things politically. That's what we're here for today. Plan B is to change things spiritually. That's where you should be on Sunday. Understand, if you don't go there, they will take that too. And then Plan C, A, B, then Plan C is preparation. Preparation is keep your powder dry. Preparation is get your ammunition. Preparation is learn how to handle a weapon. Preparation is learning how to make your own food or store your food. Preparation is learning and knowledge. Preparation is having a constitution with you in your car, by your bed, next to your toilet. Preparation is learning, understanding, and standing up for our rights. And preparation is making a way for our children and our grandchildren to have a country which we're losing in front of our face right now. Please do that. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an opportunity and a pleasure to you. I thank you so very much. Remember, God bless America again.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming here. My name is Randy Churchill, and I'm going to do one thing right now that nobody's done yet. I want to pray for our nation. So please, with me. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we are gathered here because you have given us the greatest country in the world. You have given us the right, and you have commanded us to stand up for our rights. We have the Second Amendment right now being challenged by somebody I don't believe is American, God. And Father, you have to take this nation back for each and every one of us, God. As we stand here before you, we are asking you to help us join with you in this battle, Lord, to take our nation back. And Father, we just thank you so much for the blessings you give each and every one of us. Amen. Okay, now everybody, as we all stand here, we are in fact drawing the line right now today. We have no other alternative but to stand up and fight. If we do not fight right now, I'll tell you what, we're going to lose it all. That's right. If we lose the Second Amendment, every one of our rights with the Constitution will be taken away. Our freedom of speech is already being challenged. They're going to be gone. We are no longer going to be a free America. So everybody has to get angry about this. Right. Go home and contact your relatives, contact your neighbors, and have them join in. It's the only way we're going to do it. And contact your leaders of this building back here and let them know where they stand. And if it takes to replace each and every one of them, the next election we're going to do it. We're going to get rid of them, and we're going to take America back. But it's going to take a fight. And right now is the day we have to start doing that. Not tomorrow, but today. We will not lose. I can see right now by everybody here, and I thank you for being here. It's just going to take more of us. We are all proud Americans, and let's stay that way. God bless America, and thank you.
I'm Jerry Cummings. I'm from North Bend, Washington. I'm not a public speaker. I don't belong to any organization.
Can't hear you!
I'm not a public speaker, and I don't belong to any organization, whether that be a party in the political spectrum or any of the nice organizations arranging this rally. I am a veteran.
Thank you.
I have been to places and done things for our government that even I didn't agree upon, but I followed orders. Something that I've seen in the last few months scares the hell out of me. How many people here have Facebook? How many people here have been posting things on your Facebook? How many people actually get challenged on your Facebook? What else scares me? I have 164 friends, and I don't just befriend anybody. Out of 164, only 20 will agree or like what I post about losing our rights. But I'll have a whole crew of them telling me I'm wrong. That's just wrong. It's not that, it's uneducated. We need to pass the word. Get it out. There is no more of this, we are a people, we need to be the team on the field, off the field. There is a reason why this country is great. This country is forgetting that reason. I hope and pray everybody here will take that step. Walk out, tell some stranger, anybody, just like you spread the word of God, no matter who you hold that God to be, because you have that freedom here, you need to spread the word of our Constitution. No more watering it down. People have led here, we have 10 amendments. They are already watered down. Way watered down. The second one protects the rest. God bless.
Hi everybody. Doesn't really matter what political affiliation you have, what religious affiliation. I think one of the biggest reasons that a lot of us are here, and I haven't really heard yet, is if you have a family, if you have children, my grandparents' house was broken into, and quite obviously they are unable to defend themselves without firearms. And a law that would prevent private ownership of firearms would have been a death sentence for my grandparents. When there's a crackhead in your house, or a meth head, there isn't much talking is going to do. They're there to get what they want and take it. And if that means your life too, it's going to happen. Because an 80-year-old man sitting on his chair, you don't know there's a gun under his lap. He looks like a pretty easy target. Basically, all I have to say, let's remember that it protects our families too.
My name's Tom Jordan, and I live in Shelton. Well, you call the sheriff, it's 20 minutes. And he just better bring them off in a bucket, because he's either cleaning up them or cleaning up me. I don't get it. My wife works for the Department of Corrections. She does everything she can to keep this country safe. And they come after her. So, and to get to her, you gotta go through me. Well, I just got one thing to say. I hope they don't change the rules, because it's going to get nasty. I mean, I'm not going to take it anymore. And I tell you, stand your ground. I worked here for 14 months with these people. I literally scrubbed the shit out of their toilets. I know how they work. They make deals in the hall all the time. There'll be 50 guys standing out in the hall and say, hey, we'll sell these guys down the line if you let us buy these guys. Look, they're way too powerful. The only thing that holds them in check's us. And now they're trying to see that now we can't keep track of them. You can't vote them out. I mean, and you talk about Obama. He's just a token. I mean, he don't make all the decisions. And he ain't got the right to try to make the ones he's making. You just don't take it. You don't have to be fanatic. The other thing is, where is a mental health system? We're not talking about people killing people. We're talking about crazy people. You hear it in the news all the time. They're just stacking them up. We keep taking money away from it, more money away from it. Hey, it's not the sane people out there that's doing this. It's the crazy people.
might want to hold your signs up there so you can see them. They're taking our picture. Let's let them see the signs. Wave, honk, whatever.
Good afternoon, good morning. I've never owned a gun in my life. I've never hunted. Well, I have to be honest with you, up to a couple months ago I've never owned a gun. A good friend bought me a lever action Winchester and a 45 single shot. And he did it because he knew I used to love to watch Bonanza and Gunsmoke and Rifleman, and this idea of cowboy shooting seemed kind of fun, but I never was that much interested in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. I never thought much about it. And once that tragedy on the East Coast occurred, I started to think about it. Why did they adopt an amendment in the first 10, actually the first 12 amendments were proposed, the first 10 were ratified. Why did the Second Amendment stand alone? Why was it an integral part of the first 10 amendments? And being an attorney, I thought, I want to find out. I want to research it. And I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but the little research I did do, it became apparently clear to me that, first of all, the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution had nothing to do with hunting. The colonists during the time all hunted. As a fact, most of the meat on their tables were hand-slaughtered pigs, chickens, some sheep, and then rarely cattle for beef because they needed it for dairy products. In the very rural parts of the country, they hunted to put venison on the table. They didn't even think about hunting when they commanded the adoption of the Second Amendment as part of the colonies willing to buy into a federal government. I looked further, and it became apparent to me it wasn't about recreational shooting. Good Lord, they couldn't afford it. Ammunition is expensive, it's difficult to manufacture. And many of you may not agree with this, but it didn't have a whole lot to do with personal defense either. It was understood through Anglo-Saxon law, clear back well before the 1400 century, that a person had the right to repel lethal force with lethal force. That wasn't a consideration. What they were worried about was the British regulars. What they were worried about was tyrannical government. What they were worried about was oppressive government. They were worried about the ability to ensure the retention of personal liberty through the retention of a free, democratic, and representative government. That was their concern. And any attorney, I don't care what his political bent is, if he goes back and researches that, it becomes clearly apparent. There's no way to argue that. That was the important part. And if you put that to people that don't really think about it or care or are completely on the pro-gun control side, their immediate response, well, if that's the case, why can't you have a ballistic missile? Why can't you have a Sherman tank? And I was dumbfounded by that because it became clearly, first of all, let's get basic. Most of those defense systems are team defense systems. An individual can't operate them. Second of all, and God forbid it ever should happen, but the Second Amendment acts as a lighthouse. And that became clear to me, and I'm no gun nut. I've never owned one until I got this lever-action Winchester. But it became clear to me that the Second Amendment was intended as a lighthouse to make sure we never have to submit to these four gentlemen on this poster up front here. And their other reaction to me, it's almost funny. They say, oh, you're going to take on the U.S. Army, the U.S. Air Force, if they decide they're going to take away all your guns? No. What keeps us ever having to face that is the thought that a citizenship armed and a responsible citizenship armed, they're not going to come over your back fence. And it doesn't matter whether you have a grenade launcher or not. What you have will do the job. But it won't do the job with a musketloader. I'm sorry. And so that's why it's critical. And again, I'm not a gun nut. I'm an attorney that works across the street. I'll probably lose my job for coming over here today. But it became very clear to me in just a brief research of the adoption of the Second Amendment that was the purpose for it. And that's why it's critical that it remain intact. After the tragedy at Sandy Hook, I started, I try to look at things unbiased. That's my responsibility as a judge. And I looked at each of the proposals, and I looked at the first one, ban assault rifles, and I thought, well, what is assault rifle? My naivety, I thought they were completely automatic. You pulled the trigger and the thing unloaded itself, and I found out differently. An assault rifle, to me, is a modern-day hunting rifle with a grip put on it, and a sight bar, and a grab bar, and I'm thinking, how would that have prevented that tragedy from occurring? And it became clear to me, and I've shot that rifle of mine once, and I'm convinced that I could have breached the security at Sandy Hook Elementary. I could have shot 20 young children, I could have shot 6 adults, and I could have done it with that single action in that 6-shooter. The fact that that young man, deranged man, had an assault rifle didn't change the outcome there. It didn't make sense. The idea that you limit how many bullets you can put into a gun at a time, I'm not an expert, and I could load that lever action almost as fast as I can shoot it. It wouldn't have made any difference. It made no sense to me. That is such a serious event, and something that we all together have to prevent from happening again. I want serious answers. I want real answers. I don't want these proposals that won't change the outcome in the future. It angers me that people take that tact when they don't have any real results. Maybe you can convince me otherwise. Universal background checks. I work in an industry where you have registries for people that shouldn't do certain things. Perhaps a universal national registry for people that shouldn't receive guns is something that is workable. I don't know. What I don't want to see happen is a universal national registry of people that do have guns, that are responsible. That, to me, is a step towards you-know-what. So, anyway, I didn't have any intention to come over to your talk today, but I wanted you to hear from people that aren't part of your group. And this is what I found through, I believe, what was unbiased, open-minded, looking at the problem. And it became clear to me that as soon as they talk about you don't need a certain weapon to hunt, I'm thinking it has nothing to do with hunting. And really, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with personal defense. It has to do with an armed citizenry, so we never have to load ourselves on cattle cars to crack out. It became apparent to me, who's not part of your ilk, that that's what's going on. And I guess what I want you to understand too, and it became also the people I know, this may look like a light turnout, and you watch the media, they're going to make this sound like a light turnout. But people of your ilk, they're the type of people that go about their own business. They want to be left alone. That's right. For every one of you here today in the state of Washington, I am convinced there must be hundreds that aren't here that have this feigned, strong belief and faith in the U.S. Constitution, including all of its amendments. And I would take heart in that regardless of how they may portray this outcome today, at least they're going to have to realize that somebody that isn't a gun nut and has never in his life before been a pro-Second Amendment understands what's going on. That's right. But with every right, and the U.S. Constitution does not give us rights. The Constitution was instituted by the colonists to limit the government's ability to infringe upon those rights that come from somewhere else. Now, you may believe they come from a creator, but they're inalienable. And it's critical that as we exercise those rights, that we exercise them with responsibility. And that's what I see today. I see, the emails they send us in state employment, oh, there's a Second Amendment gun rally raid tomorrow. Be careful. The security risk people came out in droves. And I'm thinking, from what I've looked and from what I've realized, this is going to be the safest place in the state today. And I'm not here to incur your favor or applause. I like to think I'm telling it like it is. People that understand their Second Amendment rights and they are responsible people. And I always wonder, what's the cure then? perhaps they need to heighten sentence for people that steal arms. You know, if a person goes out and steals your firearm, I have to assume they're doing it for two reasons. One, they couldn't legally get one anyway because of past bad behavior, or they intend to commit criminal acts. Maybe they need to approach it that way. I appreciate you letting me say this. I didn't prepare this. I didn't even think. I'm on my lunch hour. I got to get back to work. I will. But thank you.
I know I already spoke, but I've got to say this. A gun is an inanimate object. People shoot people. Who ever heard of a gun getting 30 years to life in prison? Do you know any guns in prison? No. Why can't people see this? I've come to the conclusion that people are spiritually blind. It's the motive in a heart. And that's what lawyers do in a courtroom. They try to figure out the motive of the person, not the stupid gun. It's an inanimate object. A gun wouldn't shoot anybody unless there was a person on the other side pulling the trigger. How hard is that to understand? Do you know any judge in America who sentenced a gun or a weapon in a crime to prison? Do you? No, it's insane. People kill people. And I believe that we should be looking at the movies and the games like Cop Killers and Kindergarten Killer video games, because in the computer world there's a saying, it's garbage in, garbage out. And there were 3 monkeys that we learned about as little kids. See no evil, hear no evil, do no evil, and sometimes say no evil. But if you're going to watch evil and you're going to listen to evil, sometimes you do evil. It's not the gun, it's an inanimate object. Right on. And it can be used for good or it can be used for evil depending on the person who holds it. Thank you. Thank you.
How's everybody doing today? You know, I'm not an Obama supporter at all, but I do like the president when I say fired up and ready to go. You guys ever heard him say that? Fired up! All right. My name is Ryan Brooks. I'm a military veteran. In Washington. I was in Afghanistan 2010. Came home. Any politician, whether it's Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whoever it is, there's one of them out there who says bring it home. That's why I'm behind. I just wanted to say that. But I do have a little quote I like to tell people when I say that free men own guns and slaves don't. You guys know that? Free men own guns and slaves don't. Now, free men own guns, slaves don't. There's another one out there that says they keep us divided so we can be conquered. You guys remember that one? Alright, I would hope that you guys would agree with me when I say that without a shadow of a doubt. Our nation is very, very divided right now. Obama, Bush, Clinton, Reagan, it goes all the way down. Alright. What I'm trying to say here is, I mean, hey, we have a fairly nice turnout, not as nice as the last one, okay? Hey, people are busy, they do what they gotta do. But how many people out there, especially in Washington, I like to call them the trendies, they'd see something like this on my back and they would run in fear and cower. That gun has mind control, like Bob Costas talked about on Sunday Night Football. It's going to hop up and shoot somebody. Do you think, because I mean, we have our media. Our media has been it's just abysmal. I don't even own a television. I don't watch it at all. I'll do a little shameless promotion. I actually do my own radio show on Orion Talk Radio called The Sound of Freedom. You guys can check that out. Sound of Freedom on OrionTalkRadio.com Monday through Fridays at 9 p.m. So please check that out. But what I'm getting at here is, okay, we have people here, and it's really encouraging to see
hypocrisy that they know about the Second Amendment. You guys realize free men own guns, slaves don't, okay? No free man shall ever be debarred the use of arms, to paraphrase Thomas Jefferson. What is it? The Second Amendment is the liberty's teeth, something along those lines. George Washington said that. But how many people in this country do you think are not going to subscribe to that no matter what? Because they're brainwashed by our public schooling, by our televisions, by our public politicians, and they will see something like this. You see, they're not here, by the way, because we've got guns. You know, they're pretty scared. They're not going to show up, but they're still going to vote for the politicians that say we need more gun control. They're still going to think that a sign that says gun-free zone is going to keep someone from going in there and committing a crime. We are divided. Okay, we are divided. And the reason why I wanted to get up here and speak tonight, folks, is because rather today, the reason I wanted to speak is just to say this. I have no doubt what I've seen in Afghanistan, when I've come home to realize what happened to our once beautiful, proud nation, things are not getting better. We live in social problems in this country.
7,000 degrees below zero.
Solve any problems. Politicians. All of our problems can stop with us. We live in a collectivist, progressive society, and it's been going on for over 100 years, way back to Woodrow Wilson, Theodore Roosevelt.